Hey guys, welcome back to the channel where we do reactions, movie reviews, rankings, all sorts of stuff. And today we're looking at Rob Zombie's Firefly Trilogy, ranking them from worst to best. Now these movies follow the Firefly family, which consists of a bunch of serial killers that are very psychotic, and throughout these films they're on the run from the cops and doing all sorts of nasty things. I just recently picked up the Rob Zombie Firefly Trilogy on Blu-ray, so that's what I'm going by. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So coming in at number 3, we got Three from Hell, the newest movie in the series. It released in 2019. And right off the bat, I can tell you that this is probably the best cinematography out of all 3 films. It's the best shot. There's less spottiness in the video editing. It's done a lot better. I think Rob Zombie really became one with directing by this point. Now this movie takes place around 10 years or so after Devil's Rejects, and it's another on-the-run movie. The cops are after them, and they're just going from place to place trying to escape. We get Otis, we get Baby, and Sid Haig's only in this movie for a little bit because of his condition at the time, and he passed not long after this movie. So Rob Zombie really had to kind of rewrite the whole script after seeing how much weight Sid Haig lost in that for Captain Spaulding. So he's only in the movie a very, very little bit. But he's replaced by the Midnight Wolfman, which is Otis's half-brother. And it's really the Midnight Wolfman, Otis, and Baby throughout this movie that we follow. This also has the best effects out of the whole series, I find, for the little bit of gore that we do get. Just to be clear, I don't hate any of these 3 movies. I give them all a positive rating. And my number 3 and number 2 are very close. But the problem I do have with Three from Hell is it seems almost too predictable at times, and the plot's fairly thin. It's another on-the-run movie, just like Devil's Rejects, but it doesn't seem to reach any of the marks that Devil's Rejects hit. Like, it's not as exciting. It doesn't get you in those unnerving situations. It tries, but it doesn't really pass at making you feel uncomfortable like the last movie did. You're just kind of missing that sense of urgency. It also has the slowest pacing, I find, out of the 3 movies, even though it's never really a dull moment. Like, I was never bored during the movie, but it just takes a little while to get going, I find. Like, you're almost an hour in the movie before you get your 3 main leads all together. And we kind of skip through main plot points pretty quickly too, like how Baby walks out of the prison, how she manages to do that, how they pass borders in the movie, like certain borders to different countries and stuff without getting caught when they're all over the news at the time. It just kind of almost feels like the sequel we didn't really need to this franchise. So the film may seem a little forced or hokey if you're not familiar with these characters from previous movies. Like, if this is the first movie you're watching, it's probably not going to live up to as if you were familiar with all the cast. It sort of relies on you to already be a fan of the series to enjoy this movie more. But it's still not a bad movie at all, and it's definitely worth checking out. Coming in at number 2, we got House of 1000 Corpses, released in 2003, and is the directorial debut of Rob Zombie, his first movie ever, and it goes in bizarre places, I'll tell you that. This is definitely the weirdest film of the bunch, especially once you start getting into the second half of this film. It really gets bizarre, I'll tell you that. And you really tell that this film is really like a bunch of homages, and it's like almost like fan service for him from the 70s films that he loves, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, for instance, seems to be a huge influence for this. This film also has a great soundtrack too, because they're mostly Rob Zombie songs, and it's his first movie, so he's really more in the music mode at this time. The acting really varies in this movie, because you got the big Firefly family. We actually get a bunch of members instead of the sequels only have a couple of the members. So this one deals with a bunch more, and The acting varies from one to the other. There's some that are decent, and other ones like Sherry Moon Zombie. I really don't like her in this movie as Baby. I find she just came off as annoying. She's a psychopath, but just her laugh that she keeps doing all the time, and it just kind of bothered me throughout this movie. Sid Haig as Captain Spaulding is the big standout in this, and we don't get too much of him in this movie. He doesn't get much screen time, I don't find, in any of the movies, but he really steals every scene that he's in. The problem I have with this movie is that it's trying to be like a 70s Texas Chainsaw Massacre style movie, but it fails at being terrifying, in my opinion. It has all the visuals there, but you don't feel it psychologically like you did in those previous movies. And like I said, that last act just really goes bonkers. It's not going to be for everybody. I'm sort of kind of mixed on it. I appreciate that he went for that original ending that he went for, but at the same time, it kind of cheapens the rest of the movie because it makes it feel less like realistic, I would say. So I'm not really sure what I think about that. And lastly, this is his first film, so the video editing is very spotty. Like, there's choices of transitioning into scenes is weird. There's some like weird kind of like newspaper clipping scenes that's shot very weird. There's zooms all the time on people's faces, and even like color grading on some scenes, like changing the color. It is just very weird. You'd have to see it for yourself, but you can tell he was not used to video editing back then. But as Rob Zombie's first film, it's not a bad film at all, in my opinion. Well, it's number 2 in this trilogy. It's got original concepts going for it, mixed with like 70s homages, but he puts his own twists on them. I just think that the story was just a little unfocused and could have used a couple more rewrites probably. But coming in the first place is The Devil's Rejects. What other movie from 2005? What a great film. Now this one stands out high above the rest in my opinion. The acting's solid all around. Sherry Moon Zombie's not annoying in this one. I found they made her character perfect. Removed her weird laugh she kept doing and stuff like that and just made her more psychotic. And Tree from Hell, she almost went too crazy and wacky out of nowhere. But this one had the perfect balance. And this is a huge shift from the first movie too. Like, it kind of removes the dark Dr. Satan stuff that was like all bizarre and weird in the first stuff. They kind of just don't talk about that anymore, and it makes the movie much more grounded and realistic. Like, this is the most grounded out of the 3, I find, and it gets pretty disturbing at times too. But even though there's a big shift in story wise and the way he tells the story, it still has his style in it, and we still get a few of the weird video editings, like zoom ins on right on someone's face when they're talking and stuff like that, but it's done a lot more subtle. And again, this is another on the run movie, just like the third entry, Tree from Hell, but everything's done much better. The story wise, the way it moves, the pacing, everything's done right. They sprinkle in little bits of humor here and there, and it works well. It doesn't remove the tension from the other scenes. And let me tell you, there is tension in this movie. There's one scene at the motel. I don't want to spoil it, but man, it's so uncomfortable. And it feels like it's straight out of an exploitation movie from the 70s, like Last House on the Left or I Spit on Your Grave. And I think he did a great job at capturing that. Since it makes you feel uncomfortable and this movie is so grimy and dirty, you almost need a shower afterwards after watching it. Which really makes the atmosphere really stand out in this one too. Like, the mood changed quite a bit, and it's just done a lot more serious and a lot more professionally in this movie. Like I said, this is a great movie, easily the best of the trilogy for me, and that's why it comes in at number 1. So, what do you guys think of this trilogy? What's your favorite movie out of the 3? What's your least favorite? Because Devil's Rejects seems to be the fan favorite, but I'm not sure if Tree from Hell or House of 1000 Corpses is people's least favorite. So let me know down in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'm going to try to do these video rankings every Friday. I'm going to try my hardest. And yeah, hope you guys have a good, safe Halloween this year with all the shit that's going on in the world. Just stay safe, and thanks for watching.